We all dreamed of becoming super rich. How many times have you laid on your bed at night and put together some wild scheme to make millions of dollars? Most of us put those plans to bed and head to work the following morning. But not everyone. Foutanga Babani Sissoko was a man who made it his life's mission to stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's mega-rich elite. From humble beginnings, he put together a scheme to make millions in the most unconventional way possible, by using forbidden African black magic. Stick around to the end to find out how one crazy man with nothing but a dream in his head managed to swindle over $250 million and never got caught. You're watching I Explained, and let's get started. Sissoko was born in Mali in 1946. Just like many parts of the elusive man's life, his early years are shrouded in mystery. We know that he was born in a small village in the southeast of a country called Dabia, near the border with neighboring country Guinea, but little else other than that. It's impossible to say when the dream first took root in Sissoko's mind, but we do know that the young man dreamed of creating his own airline industry at some point in his life. He wanted to look up at the sky and see a fleet of African-owned planes cutting through the clouds, their contrails leaving their marks on the world. Sissoko dreamed that one day West African nations would stand shoulder to shoulder with other international giants. But Mali was and still isn't a prosperous country. With a GDP per capita of only $874 in 2021, its citizens are some of the poorest on the planet. How could a young man from a humble village in West Africa hope to pull his people up to greatness on the world stage? Dreams alone weren't going to be enough. Sissoko needed a plan. Mali might not be the wealthiest nation on earth, but Sissoko did have one advantage over everyone else: black magic. It sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel, but it's true. Mali and other West African nations are home to many ancient traditions, some of which involve shady rituals that are used to mold reality to its users' will. Islam strictly forbids the practice of black magic, but some are willing to put their faith on the line. Sissoko was one such man. As mentioned prior, very little is known about the man's early years. In fact, the first documented instances of his life only began in 1995, when he was already 49 years old. By this time, Sissoko had done well enough in life, but was far from being a globe-trotting millionaire. Whatever plans he had hatched in the decades before clearly hadn't worked as well as he'd hoped. That was all about to change. Sissoko walked into the offices of the Dubai Islamic Bank, located in the capital of the United Arab Emirates. The bank was only 20 years old at this point, still young compared to the traditional giants like Citibank or Northern Trust, but an essential piece of a fast-growing economy. Besides, the fall of the 261-year-old Barings Bank that same year proved that one smooth-talking businessman was all it took to bring down a titan. Sissoko knew this too. When he entered the bank, he asked to borrow some money to buy a car. It was nothing out of the ordinary, and Sissoko's credit was good, so the bank manager approved the loan. As a show of appreciation, Sissoko invited the manager, named Mohammed Ayub, to dinner one night. Ayub accepted. Little did he know this was the first step in Sissoko's devious plan to make millions in one fell swoop. When Ayub arrived at Sissoko's home for dinner, everything seemed to be going well. The two engaged in delightful conversation over a succulent meal. Then Sissoko made a claim that shocked Ayub to his very core. The Malian said he was a master of dark, forbidden magic that could make the two men rich beyond their wildest dreams. Ayub listened to the tale, intrigued and a little frightened. Sissoko claimed that he could take any sum of money and double its value with just one simple ritual. Ayub couldn't believe his ears. His newfound friend told him to return to his home another night with some cash, and that he would prove his black magic prowess by doubling his money that evening. Skeptical but intrigued by the incredible possibilities, Ayub went home and returned with a stack of cash another night. When the bank manager stepped through the front door of Sissoko's home, another man burst through the living room door. There was fear and panic in his eyes. He ran up to Ayub and told him that a jinn, a magical spirit from Islamic mythology, had just attacked him. The man warned Ayub not to anger the jinn, or else he'd suffer the same fate. We don't know exactly how much money Ayub brought, but he entered the dark room and placed the cash inside, then stepped out. Flashes of light shone through the doorframe. Trails of smoke crept out of the room, filling the air with a perfumed scent. Ayub claimed to hear the sound of inhuman voices, muttering dark words. His heart beat hard in his chest, and a bead of sweat raced down his brow. When the ritual was over, Sissoko opened the door and revealed that the cash the bank manager had brought that night had indeed been doubled. Despite his fears, a grin spread across Ayub's face. He was delighted and saw a way to make more money than he could ever have dared dreamed of. Sissoko was smiling too, as the same thoughts entered his mind, though his road to riches was far different than his friends'. Convinced that Sissoko truly was a master of the dark arts, Ayub would send his new business partner money through bank transfers and waited to see exponential returns. Between 1995 and 1998, the bank manager made over 180 transfers and settled millions of dollars worth of debt that Sissoko owed to various parties. Only a couple of weeks after gaining Ayub's trust, Sissoko was already on the move. He walked through the doors of another bank, Citibank, and married one of the tellers working there. This was a pragmatic relationship. He paid her $500,000 to set up a connection between him and the bank. Using his new wife's position, Sissoko was able to wire over $100 million to the United States. Now, you might be wondering, why did he go through all this trouble? Why not just double the savings he already had and become a billionaire? Unsurprisingly, nothing that Sissoko offered was actually real. He was a con man through and through. By the time Ayub made those payments, he'd skipped town and was nowhere to be found. By 1996, the man had used his silver tongue and black magic tricks to turn himself into a multi-millionaire. He managed to swindle an unthinkable amount of money, and was finally free to turn his dreams into a reality. Planes carrying the logo of Air Dabia would soon take to the sky. Sissoko's dreams seemed close at hand. He didn't want to set up an airline company just to make money. He also wanted to make a name for himself as a fabulously generous man. Though his methods for obtaining the money were crooked at best and blatant fraud at worst, Sissoko did seem to want to improve the lives of others. Following through on his dream, he purchased a Boeing 747 and two Boeing 727s to start his fleet. Sissoko had claimed to be friends with the president of Gambia, Yahya Jammeh, so he registered Air Dabia as a Gambian company and operated from the nation. Back in Dubai, however, one man wasn't benefiting from Sissoko's schemes. Ayub had tried calling his friend hundreds of times, but to no avail. He'd not seen a single cent in return from the money he'd sent him. Ayub swallowed his pride and told the Dubai Islamic Bank what had been going on. So ashamed was Ayub of the amount of money he'd lost, he couldn't even bring himself to say it. He had to write the total on a scrap of paper: $242 million. Ayub was charged with fraud and thrown in prison for 3 years. Not only that, the former bank manager was forced to undergo an exorcism to rid him of any black magic corruption. Once his partner was locked up, the Emirati courts also sentenced Sissoko to the same punishment. The only problem? Sissoko wasn't in Dubai, so they had no way of getting their hands on him. In 1996, the Mali multimillionaire made a crucial mistake. 2 of his employees were looking to buy 2 American Huey helicopters. It seemed like a simple enough transaction, but the fact that the helicopters could be fitted with heavy weapons meant that a special license was required for the purchase. Sissoko claimed that the choppers were to be used as air ambulances, but the American government was suspicious. The 2 employees offered a $30,000 bribe to a customs officer to smooth things over, but that only made things worse. The officer refused, and the 2 employees were detained. Interpol put out a warrant for Sissoko's arrest. He was stopped while trying to open a bank account in Geneva. When he was flown back to the United States, the government expected to put Sissoko in handcuffs and see justice carried out. To their shock, a number of high-class individuals, including former US Senator Birch Bayh, flocked to his defense. Sissoko paid the $20 million bail and went on a mad spending spree. He bought dozens of luxurious sports cars, spent $500,000 on jewelry, and donated $1.2 million to a homeless shelter. It was as if he was desperate to get rid of every single last cent in his bank account. Sissoko became a mini-celebrity in Florida. After serving a meaningless 43-day sentence and paying a $250,000 fine, Sissoko returned home to Mali. Despite the Dubai Islamic Bank hounding his every step and trying to drag him to the courts, they never managed to catch the elusive Malian Playboy. Until his very last day, Sissoko remained on Interpol's wanted list, but because he was appointed to serve as a member of the Malian parliament, he was immune from all criminal investigations. Nobody in his circle was willing to give Sissoko up. In March 2021, Foutanga Babani Sissoko passed away in the comfort of his home in Bamako. To say the man had an interesting personality and an incredible life story would be the understatement of the century. From humble beginnings, Sissoko used his quick wits, silver tongue, and knowledge of black magic to con his way into making over $240 million. Regardless of what you think of his morals, there's no denying the man knew how to leave his mark on history. What do you think of Sissoko's story? Was he a modern-day Robin Hood, a cunning smooth talker who swindled the mega-rich? Or was he a dangerous liar who deserved to be put behind bars? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. Until next time.